Well, it seems it finally happened. The United States released their health care bill. It passed, and everyone's shouting hip hip hooray. In light of this, I'd like to put my final thoughts down on it before I move on to other subjects. Now, it's commonly asked by many people, why would somebody ever argue against free health care? Now, in some cases, this is actually out of a genuine curiosity as to why someone would think that way. Although I find in most cases, it's just an ignorant idea that how could somebody possibly not think like I do? Now, if you are in the later category, this video is not for you, so you can just turn it off right now. Go ahead. Now, if you are the former, if you are actually genuinely interested to know why some people think this way, then keep listening, and I do hope you find it enlightening. So, without further ado, first, the economical argument. Socialized healthcare is based on the idea that you can create wealth out of thin air. Just give the state more control, and they will create more supply of medical services where once was none. Now, if that were so, why doesn't the state just pass a bill that makes us all rich? Obviously, it's not that easy. What is financially wrong with America's system? In a free market, prices are kept low by the fact that people generally will go for the cheaper good or service. This makes it profitable as a business owner to undercut your competition, which results in lower prices all around. But when you have a third party paying for their good or service, the consumer has no incentive to seek out the better deal. This removes the incentive to undercut and cut costs. The inevitable result is higher and higher costs. This is why you'll note skyrocketing prices since the state began to subsidize health care in the mid-1900s, and why non-subsidized medical procedures like plastic surgery and LASIK have declined in price. Pre-existing conditions. Insurance companies are vilified for not taking on people with pre-existing conditions, but there is in fact a very good reason for this. It's the same reason why you can't buy house insurance when your house is already burned down. If they did do this, people would have no incentive to buy insurance while they're still healthy. They would simply wait until something bad happened and then apply for health insurance, thus demanding that they should get to tap into a risk pool that they never invested in the first place. This bill imposes a chump change fine for not buying health insurance, but mandates that insurance companies not turn down people with pre-existing conditions. So the most financially viable option for people is to simply eat the fine and not buy insurance until they actually do get sick or injured, which will place huge financial stress on the insurance market. The government will have no choice but to increase the fine or even outright make it a criminal offense to not buy insurance if it gets bad enough, which I think it will. What about full-on socialized healthcare like Canada? The problem with full socialism has everything to do with this law of supply and demand. If you lower prices, demand increases. Thus, if you make something free, then the demand will increase ad infinitum. This is made even worse by the fact that it's not actually free. It's only perceived as such because the cost is hidden. This spiraling demand is what results in the rationing in the supply of medical goods and services. This is further upset by the same problem I described above, where the consumer has no incentive to seek the better deal, and thus the system has no incentive to cut costs. Socialized healthcare attempts to combat these rising costs by introducing price caps. The problem with price caps is this chokes the industry's ability to gain capital, which they would otherwise invest in new medical and technological innovations. This is reflected in the fact that America has come out with the vast majority of medical advances these days, and that socialized countries simply leech off these achievements. Worse yet, price caps also cause a shortage in workers in the medical industry, who have every incentive to simply move their practice elsewhere to where their prices are not capped. This can be seen in the shortage of family doctors in Canada and further stresses the wait time for health care. Worse yet, this reduced capital causes needless deaths from preventable illnesses because companies simply cannot afford to provide these new innovations to their patients. If they cannot lower the price of a certain drug or procedure to meet the demands of the price cap, then they have no choice but to simply not provide that drug or procedure. In fact, It's often said that everyone, statistically, knows someone who died needlessly due to restrictions on a medical supply thanks to state meddling in the medical industry. I will be making a second video where I will talk more about the moral arguments, which I've discussed in a past video, but I will go into more detail now. So, watch that, and I do hope you enjoy it.